Hey BookTube, Chelsea's Reads here. I wanted to start this video with a little announcement. I am going to be stopping these weekly videos and I'm going to try to go back to a monthly format. The reason being that it's really starting to take a toll trying to get through these books. Like this week, by Wednesday, I only had one book read and I was like panicking because I didn't have enough content, and then I started reading like 4 books at that point, so I had 4 books going at once. Even this morning I was hurrying to finish a couple so I would have something to show for today, and that's not really what reading is supposed to be about. It's supposed to be fun, it's supposed to be relaxing, and instead I was just reading to have stuff to say. So I will do one more next week, will be my last weekly, and I'm only doing that one because I'm going to be reading the third House of Night book, and we all know how much I hate those books. So I'm going to rage read it, but then that'll be my last House of Night book. So then after that, what you'll get is I'm going to do a best books so far because we'll be reaching the halfway point of the year at the end of June. So I will do an update on the books that I've given 5 stars and maybe a couple higher 4-star book reads. And then after that in July, we're going to go back to monthlies. Obviously that didn't really work too well for me last time. If I do anything fun and special, I will do a separate video for those, but otherwise, yeah. Our governor just recently lifted quarantine anyway, so that was the whole point of this experiment, was to see how much I could read during quarantine, and that's that. So, without further ado, let's get into a haul. So today's haul is actually a pretty moderate one. It's actually more cozy mysteries. If you guys have any cozy mystery recommendations, drop them in the link below. The link? No, in the comments below. Just because I am kind of like on a kick of like buying them, not reading them yet because I'm finally getting through some old TBR stuff. But, you know, I'm always up for more, so that's all I got this week was 3 more cozy mysteries. The first being Drawn and Buttered by Shari Randall. This is the 3rd book in the Lobster Shack mystery. It's again an old ballerina. She is, I think, in her mid-20s, but she hurt her ankle, so she had to go back to her New England town and help her aunt out in her lobster shack. And most cozy mysteries have that same kind of premise, that somebody comes back to their hometown, a small hometown, and has to work at some sort of a shop, at a cozy little town, cozy little shop, and they are having to solve some mysteries along the way. So Drawn and Buttered, I actually think, is the final book in this series. I don't think she wrote any more, which is a shame, except for these really scary looking lobsters. Look at that. That is terrifying. Yeah, but Drawn and Buttered. The next book that I got this week was Egg Drop Dead, which is the 5th book in the Noodle Shop mysteries. This is about a Chinese-American woman, Lana, who works at her family's noodle shop, and mysteries occur. I don't really want to get into too much specifics because I haven't read the series yet. The only reason I have this 5th book is because I put the series on my Amazon wishlist, and I'm part of an anonymous gifting group, and they're cheap, so apparently they're easy to buy. But yeah, Egg Drop Dead. And the last book that I hauled this week is Tide and Punishment. This is actually the 3rd book in the Seaside Cafe mystery. I ordered book 2 from Barnes & Noble because it was not available on Amazon, and when I ordered the 2nd book, I put the 3rd one on my wish list and it was like immediately purchased. So book 2 is actually going to be arriving on Monday. This is about an iced tea shop. As you can see, the little, maybe you can't see it, but there's a little bloody iced tea down there. This one is a Christmas mystery. The seagull's wearing a little Santa hat. Cute. This one's also takes place in North Carolina. And apparently she's helping her elderly Aunt Fran at her tea shop. I don't know, cozy mysteries again also follow the same kind of formula, so until I read them and get a little bit more in depth, I don't want to give too much away about them, mostly because I don't want to spoil myself either. So that's it, and those are the 3 cozy mysteries I've been collecting lately, so if you have any other cozy mystery suggestions, please drop them below. As for what I read this week, the first book that I read was Mars Volume 4. There we go. Oh yeah, the series is still available for free on Kindle Unlimited. It is a manga about bad boy Ray and good girl Kira. Volume 4 is after Ray's big race. He's gained more popularity. He drives his motorcycle, but Kira also did this gorgeous painting of Ray as the god Mars, hence the title of the series. And it's at a museum, and his ex-girlfriend Shatori sees it, and which brings her back to find Ray and talk with him. Apparently they're best friends in junior high. They used to date, and she actually thinks she is the reason that Ray's twin brother Sei committed suicide. And actually, Ray blames himself. So there's that. It's full of drama. I really liked it. I gave it 4 stars. It was definitely better than Volume 3. It was a little bit more of that teen romance and teen drama that we come to love. Definitely, if you liked Peach Girl, I think Mars would be a very good series for you. The next book that I read this week is actually the one that tripped me up so much, and that was Solas by Gail Carriger. It is about a spinster named Liza, and she is a spinster, and she is soulless. She has no soul, apparently. So she hunts vampires. She's friends with a werewolf. At a party, a vampire attacks her. She realizes he is not of a hive, and that is unheard of with vampires, apparently, so she is going to investigate. I did not finish this one at 30%, and even at 30%, it took me 3 days to get to 30% before I decided to quit it. It's just so dry, it was boring. It was trying to be funny and sarcastic, and it just didn't translate well, or at least it didn't to me. There was illustrations within. This is actually a special signed edition copy that I don't even know how I came into possession of. The tagline is a novel of vampires, werewolves, and parasols, and it sounded hilarious. It sounded like it was going to be really good because I love those things, but it wasn't. It also had one of my least favorite tropes, which is mutual pining. The ever dashing, daring werewolf, Lord Macon, I think his name was. I don't even remember his name. But he clearly has feelings for Liza, and she clearly has feelings for him, but I don't even think her name is Liza, now that I'm saying that. It is Lord Macon. Her name's Alexia. So Alexia clearly has feelings for Lord Macon. He clearly has feelings for her, as evidence of him getting jealous when another gentleman visited her, despite the gentleman being gay. But they won't admit their feelings to each other, and I'm not here for that. I don't like mutual pining at all. I'm all about communication. This was a very hefty book, but like I said, quit it at 30% because of the slow-moving plot and the very wordy dialogue that felt unnatural. I did not hold my interest. The next book that I read was Once Upon a Dream by Liz Bradwell. It is part of the Twisted Tales series. Although it is part of a series, the books are not connected. So the Twisted Tales take popular Disney movies and ask a what-if question, this one being what if the Sleeping Beauty never woke up? So Aurora is put under the curse by Maleficent, as she is in the Sleeping Beauty movie. When Prince Philip goes to kiss her awake, instead of waking up, he himself falls asleep. And in this dream world, Aurora spends 16 years, but in this dream world, Maleficent actually raises her. And her parents were evil, so they're in the dungeon. Maleficent has to keep killing royals and using their blood to stay alive. However, if Aurora turns 16, the day after her 16th birthday in this dream world, happens without her waking up, then Maleficent lives and Aurora will die in the real world. Everybody from the real world is also transported into this dream world. It's not until she runs away outside of the Thorn Palace that she finds out that she is dreaming. And in this dream, because it is a dream, she can conjure things like she's in control. She goes through a couple identity crises when she realized she's not ready to rule. When she, before she went to sleep, she found out she was actually a princess, and that the women who raised her aren't actually her parents or her aunties. They're actually fairies. So she comes to this realization that she doesn't know how to rule. She doesn't even know what taxes are. And in the dream world, she can't do math because you can't do math or read in dreams. So she really is struggling to find out who she is. So I actually buddy read this with my cousin who is 13 and my sister who's an adult as well. My 13-year-old cousin really seemed to enjoy this. My sister and I both give it 3 stars. For me, the dialogue is still very jarring. This one was definitely better than the first book that we read, which was the Aladdin tale. But Liz Braswell has a lot to go in terms of dialogue. Like, the dialogue would be fine if it was taking place, like, in today, but it was just not something I could see Aurora, a princess from whatever time, saying. She came out with a lot of modern phrases. The characterization also was all over the place, and the plot got a little bit repetitive. Every time they ran into somebody, it took them too long to figure out that it was just a demon that Maleficent had conjured to try to distract them. Philip is boring and bland. He just keeps telling Aurora, he goes, no, we fell in love at first sight. She goes, yeah, but that's not me. That was, like, real me. Dream me doesn't know you, and I'm not in love with you. But he kept insisting that he loves her, and then out of the blue, when she does finally wake up, she's like, I do love him. Like, it just was confusing. So it's not bad. It took us a while to get through this only because Katie's still in school, and, you know, we had to go at her pace. We were reading it in 4-chapter chunks. And discussing it. So the beginning I was really intrigued, but then by the middle it just kind of dragged on, and I kind of was like over it by that point. But it was a solid 3 stars, so it was okay. The next one is actually a Beauty and the Beast book that we're reading in this series, and my sister assures me that it's the best one in the series, so we'll see. Next this week I read Artemis Fowl, the Eternity Code by Oin Culver. Is it Oin? I said Ian as a kid. So this is the 3rd book in the Artemis Fowl series. It is about a young boy. In this book he is 13. He is a genius and he uses his smarts for evil. So in this one, Artemis Fowl made a cube that uses very modern technology as well as fairy technology. He is tricked and manipulated by another businessman who steals the cube, and Artemis has to get it back. So to do so, he gets his friends who are fairies to help him out. The dwarf Mulch Diggums is actually working with the mob, and then he, when he's assigned to the Artemis Fowl case, obviously he's going to help Artemis instead of hurt him. And the very end is kind of sad because Kali has to wipe their memories, and Artemis reverts back to being evil. I have read this series in the past. This is actually just a reread for me, and I really liked it. Actually, this one used to be my favorite book. Now, rereading it, it's not bad, but I think I'm going to like the 4th one in this reread better. The beginning is really shocking because Butler actually gets shot and killed. Butler is Artemis's bodyguard and friend, and Holly has to bring him back to life, which is against a bunch of fairy laws, but Julius Root, her commander, turns a blind eye throughout the whole book. This was more of a spy thriller, break-in kind of a book, and less, I think, on the fairy side, which is kind of a bummer. I don't know why I liked this one so much. I think it was because of Butler. Butler is my favorite character, and when I was younger, obviously it was a shock. I did, like everybody else, start rereading this series because of the Disney movie. Once the trailer actually dropped, I saw how awful it was. I was less inclined to keep reading these books because I was kind of in a rage over the trailer. But during the move, right before I moved, I read the first 2 books, and then during the move, these got mixed up. So now that I've uncovered them again, I will be continuing to reread them. And they've so far been living up to my remembrance of this being a beloved series. The second one was a little bit rough. The Arctic incident wasn't very good, but this one was still pretty good. It was interesting. The sea cube was an interesting thing. I like that Artemis continued to outsmart the fairies, knowing that he was going to get mind wiped. He still had mirrored contact lenses, so that was kind of cool. And Artemis is getting older, and he's almost 14. So I think in the next book he'll be 14, and we'll see how that goes. The final book that I read this week, the one that I had to rush to finish in time to be able to discuss it, was The Buying of Lot 37. It's by Joseph Fink and Jeffrey Craner. It is the scripts of Welcome to Night Vale. This is volume 3 of the script, so the season 3 episodes. Night Vale is a fictional town. It is a radio show that is hosted by Cecil Palmer. And in this one, Lot 37 was actually bought in season 2, which was in the previous set of scripts. But Lot 37 was Cecil's body, and he was very confused about that. And this plot actually plays out in the second half of this collection. We see the ramifications and implications of being bought. You find out who bought Lot 37. and what it means. So this volume, this is like the show goes through, for me, the show goes through like some really good parts and some like lulls. Like this one was one of those. Like the beginning of the season, there wasn't really a strong arc to push it forward, so it was just kind of like unconnected little stories. Carlos is stuck in the desert otherworld, so that was a reoccurring story that kept happening in this one, and it was Cecil just missing Carlos, which was interesting, but it wasn't really driving any large plot forward. Maybe because season 2 had that huge Strux Corp plot that this one just didn't. Like it was just taking a breather, I guess, from big plots. Joseph and Jeffrey are staring judgingly at me as I talk. But the second half got really more interesting when, like, there was this mysterious person doing all these things, and obviously it was Cecil because someone was controlling him. I won't spoil who. But like I said when I read the other volumes, that I think that this is really good for fans. I don't know if you're not familiar with the podcast. I don't know how much more impactful it would be, like, just to like pick these up and read them. Cecil's voice really like aids it. Before every episode, either Joseph, Jeffrey, or one of the guest voices write a little blurb as a forward to each episode. I really appreciated Hal Lublin's insights into Steve Carlsberg, and like it was very moving, and I enjoyed it. So definitely, if you're a fan of Night Vale, like it's really fun to revisit these episodes again and to see, hear about the creative process. Like Joseph and Jeffrey pick like one-liners from past episodes, and they're like, that might be an interesting plot, which I think is kind of a cool way to write. But I would recommend this. I gave it 4 stars. Even though it took me a while to read it, it's, you know, hard to get into, but sci-fi wise, keeps you on your toes too. Like it's fun. And that was it, guys. That was all I read. And like I said, it took me a while. I'm actually halfway through an audiobook right now. And next week will be our last week doing this, and then I'm gonna go back to monthly. I'm gonna try to do monthly updates as well as having that best book so far, because I just think it'll be easier for me to do that than trying to get it all together at the end of the year. So excuse me, Barnes & Noble is actually open now. It opened up today, so I am going to go to the bookstore, friends, with a mask because I'm still going to be safe, and I am very excited to be able to go look at books and touch books and have fun with them. All right, guys, stay safe, stay healthy. We'll see you next week for our last weekly update. Bye.